Did you know that from 2017 to 2020, WagerTalk charged $795 for a season of either college football or NFL? Well, we know how important our season-long customers are, and we want to increase the amount of money you save by committing a season-long package. While most of our competitors continue to raise their prices, we are doing the exact opposite. We've lowered our price for both the NFL season and the college football season to only $5.99 each. But through Sunday, August 14th, we are offering an early bird special, saving you an additional $100, making your NFL or college football season only $4.99. That's under $23 per week. Make sure to take advantage of the early bird prices before midnight, Sunday, August 14th, as they will return to the still low price of $5.99 per sport per season. You know the NFL preseason is already underway, and the college football season kicks off Saturday, August 27th. There is no coupon needed and no limit to the number of packages you can buy. Just head to your favorite handicappers page and take advantage today.
Happy Friday, everybody. Friday starts the weekend, and we are here to make your weekend a profitable one through the props betting market. Welcome, everyone, to Prop It Up. I am Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. Joining me, as always, my fellow prop masters, Matt Josephs from SportsMemo.com and Andrew McInnis from WagerTalk.com. We got a loaded show for you. We're going to go over some college football, some CFL, UFC, touching on auto racing a little bit. Then we're going to play a game where each of us has a prop that none of the others know. We're going to throw them out at each other and go around a little bit and get each other's thoughts. No research because we don't know what the props are. And Andrew is in charge of the prop bet. Of a lot of big things right around the corner, guys. It is never too early to get ready for college football and NFL season. We got a lot of things going on around the dog days of summer. So we got a lot of things going on at Wager Talk and Sports Memo. Matt is ready with college football. You can use his promo code CFB200. That's CFB200. Get you $200 off of a season of college football. That makes it only $3.99 for the early bird special. Matt is one of the best at college football around. Over 34 units profit last year. So if you're ready for college football, go lock that in. Andrew's got a 5% MLB play going today. He's also got a 5% play in the CFL for this weekend. And I don't know if anyone's been doing it better for 5% plays. 41 and 18, 5% run. Andrew, congratulations on that one. Very impressive. Myself, I've got a promo code WIN150, WIN150. Get you $150 off a 30-day pass. I really wanted to do something with all sports. We're number one in sports since March 1st. We've been doing well across all of it. So go grab any of those specials. Make sure you check out Andrew and myself at WagerTalk.com and Matt Josephs at SportsMemo.com. Let's get right into it, guys. Matt, I'm coming to you first. College football, you can just feel it coming. So congratulations on all your articles that you wrote, and I know you've got some season win totals. So talk to us how you're feeling about college football now, and let us know what you're expecting from this upcoming season.
Yeah, it's the process has kind of come along a little bit, and I've got my the rest of my win totals. Obviously, there's as you mentioned, a 5%er that's up on my page at sportsmemo.com. I'm obviously not going to give that one out for free, but it's I'm ready for the season, and it's kind of good because there's been kind of some negative headlines in college football as we kind of gone along and everything with the NIL stuff and all the conference realignment. But early on, value, especially in some of these markets that people are not necessarily looking at, like team totals and things like that, because the books know about these as much about these teams as we do. I mean, there's a lot of returning starters in some teams. There's not a lot of returning starters in some teams. And I feel like we're all in the same starting point. So if you do the research, you read the quotes, you put in the time, you're going to be able to beat the books the first couple of weeks before they start to figure everything out, because these guys are really smart. So I feel like early on, and certainly with the sports that you guys do, like Andrew with CFL and Andy with the NASCAR and things like that, early on in the season, it feels like the value is there because the books know as much as we do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're 100% right. I actually feel like sometimes us bettors have the advantage early in the season. I mean, we're looking at the lines that the books come out with, but the books are really having to put out lines that cater, trying to get action on both sides. I don't know. I feel like bettors could take a little bit more of a sharper edge early in the season before the books can really hammer in numbers. So
what about week 2 overreaction, Matt? I mean, that can be said as well, right? Like, you have your thoughts on a team. They might not perform to that level you think they're going to week 1. Doesn't mean they're going to do that again in week 2. I feel like week 2 can be a good week as well, just based on a lot of overreaction from people.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and once again, it comes down to all the sports. I mean, you see that, and you look. Sometimes you stick to how you think about a team, and they have a really tough first game. They don't look very good, and you're like, I know they're going to be good that second week. So yeah, it's kind of trusting your preseason research and things like that, and kind of looking at the box score of that first game and being like, this isn't the team I thought I was going to get. They're going to be better in week 2. So yeah, definitely week 2. There's some value. Of course, week 0 is what's coming up in just a few weeks. That's with a lighter slate, but still 3 weeks-ish away from week 0 of college football.
Do you look at attacking certain teams early in the season, or do you start with conferences? How do you kind of narrow it down to who you want to wager on?
Well, I mean, I think it's you go over the whole board as a whole, and look, early on, you're going to get some of these mismatched non-conference games. And remember, with the playoffs and everything coming into play, early on, teams are going to want to put a lot of points up. A team like Ohio State, when they do get an easier opponent, of course, they they open up with some tough ones. But there's other squads that, like, you kind of want to fade. Like, one of the teams that I'm looking to fade this year is Nevada. Nevada lost their head coach to another team in the conference, and not only that, about 5 or 6 key players left and went and followed that coach to another team. They've got a brand new guy who's never been a head coach before. They've got like a couple of starters back on each side of the ball. So teams like that need continuity, that need time to gel, I'm certainly going to try and fade early on. One of the teams I kind of like, for this coming season, we talked about it last year because I gave out the crazy stat when we were doing the crazy stats to start the season. Southern Miss had like 8 quarterbacks last year, and at the end of the season, they were using walk-on guys, equipment managers, and running backs as their quarterbacks. And now this year, everybody's healthy. They've got a ton of guys back on defense. So a team like Southern Miss, who's got a lot of continuity and had injury issues last year, that's going to be a play-on squad, at least early on for me.
You've got a couple of win totals that we got here we want to discuss. So talk to us about how you went about taking some of your favorite win totals, some of the teams that you were gravitating towards, and then give us a couple that we can really focus on.
So for those who are not familiar, the process, I kind of did my first run through a couple of weeks ago, and then I took a break, jumped onto some other stuff and things like that. And then once I got my Phil Steele, I kind of really hammered down the second run through and kind of the third run through. And the key here is, and this is the most important thing, having access to a bunch of books. There's different juices, there's different numbers. Some books have the number flat, some people have the hook, and so therefore you've got to have access to multiple places. The one I've kind of been giving out to everybody now, and it's one I hit last year, and for once again, we're going to do it once again, is Georgia Tech under 3.5. Georgia Tech opens up the season with Clemson. Their non-conference schedule is Western Carolina, figures to be one of their few wins. They host Ole Miss. They're not going to win that game. They play at UCF, and they got that game against Georgia, and I think Georgia won the championship last year. So they just keep scheduling themselves into these tough situations. They play at Pittsburgh. They actually closed their season with 4 or 5 on the road, at Florida State, at Virginia Tech, at North Carolina, at Georgia, and the home game is against Miami. They probably won't win any of those. And they may even fire their coach this year. And so once that happens, then they become a lame duck team. It's a really low number, but shop around, get the juice, and under 3.5 for Georgia Tech. The other one I kind of like is the team I just mentioned, Southern Miss. As I said, they're a team that's got a ton of guys back. They've got health at quarterback. And look, they've got a decent non-conference slate. I think they can win that first game against Liberty. They play at Miami. That's probably going to be a loss. Then they come home and play an FCS school, and they go to Tulane, which I think there's a chance they win. But then you kind of look, and Southern Miss is in a new conference. They're in the Sun Belt this year, and they're in the weaker division of the Sun Belt. So you look at some of these games. Arkansas State's not going to be very good. Texas State's not going to be very good. South Alabama will be hit or miss. Louisiana Monroe's not very good. So I think a healthy Southern Miss team presents some value here. Now, here's the key. You can get 5 at over -140, or you can get over 5.5 in some places at -120. I prefer the comfort of potentially getting the push of over 5. I'm willing to pay a little bit more juice just to get that, but I also think there's a chance they get 6 or 7 wins. So if you don't have access to the 5, I don't mind the 5.5 as much. But I'm bullish on the Southern Miss Golden Eagles this year, home of Gore Jr., who is their running back who played a little quarterback last year.
Nice. Hopefully, they have people other than equipment managers slinging the ball out there. Who made that schedule for Georgia Tech at the end of the season? Man, that doesn't seem very favorable to them to close out the year. You mentioned the coach. The coach maybe being fired with Georgia Tech. Any other coaching scenarios off the top of your head we need to keep our eye on? I really like the strategy of the lame duck teams that kind of give up towards the end. So any other coaching situations or storylines you think could pop up throughout the season that we can take advantage of?
I think at least early on, taking advantage of newer coaches is certainly a thing. As I mentioned with Nevada, I mean, it's a guy that hasn't been a head coach before. Looking at certain situations with new head coaches. I mean, look, we're past the COVID part of everything, but still, it's been kind of a little bit different off season. So I think at least early on, newer coaches, newer teams, you want to fade them and kind of looking at the continuity and trying to take advantage of some guys that have a lot of returnees back, and that's something I kind of like to look at early on. And as I mentioned, running up the score early, especially if you're a team like USC or somebody that needs to add some extra respect, a team like Clemson. Clemson might put up 50 or 60 on Georgia Tech if that offense is clicking, especially since DJ Uiagalelei wasn't very good last year.
Great stuff from Matt Joseph. Grab his college football season pack at sportsmemo.com. Check out his promo code CFB. CFB 200, CFB 200, get $200 off. Great stuff, Matt. Listen, nobody puts in more research than Matt does on college football. So let's have another great season, Matt. Andrew, coming to you. We always talk about like some of the tough beats kind of even itself out over the year. You experienced a couple in CFL, and listen, you stick to your strategy and the results start coming around. Had a really nice win last night. So, that game last night, I mean, the over looked completely dead in the water at halftime, and then bang, huge second half. So, tell us a little bit about what's going on in CFL. I know we got a 5% coming up this weekend. So, what you got for us in the Canadian Football League?
Yeah, Andy, first of all, I just gotta say, I mean, when one of the best quarterbacks in the league throws 2 picks in the first half and then Montreal fumbles on the 5-yard line, not really the best case scenario for an over, but to get 39 points in the second half, I'll take that. Maybe not the most exciting and well-planned win, but I'll take that. Look, right now in the CFL, one thing that's cool, and I know some other leagues might do this, but this is really a CFL thing. They do lots of home and homes. I find that with the prop betting market, they don't adjust enough from one week to the next. I know it might sound simple, and I use the word overreaction, asking Matt about teams reacting from one week to the next in college football with the odds market. But I think that especially the CFL, I mean, props are relatively new with, FanDuel, DraftKings, some of these sports books just starting to release CFL props. Plain and simple, if I see in this 1 week, this team is going to run this guy to the ground and absolutely give him plenty of touches, and they go on and win that game, who am I to think that the next week they aren't going to do that? That's how I feel about Brady Oliveira from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He is a guy that I want to look at for rushing props several weeks in a row now at this point. I mean, they are controlling the clock with him. They're giving him the ball in key moments, and he's someone that's made big plays. He's not just a guy going in there and getting, 3 or 4 yards per carry. He's breaking these walls and, getting 11, 12, 13 yards sometimes, and sometimes breaking through for a big run. So when you're looking at some of these home and homes, it's important to, sometimes keep it simple, stupid. Go back to the week before and say, who played well? Who was the guy that was targeted? Especially if it was a close game or this certain team played well, they're going to go back and do the similar strategies. If someone played very well, of course, he's going to get covered and they're going to have film. The other team will play different defense. But that's what I've noticed personally with my CFL prop betting recently. looking at these former matchups, this week we have BC and Edmonton playing, Andy. Last time they played each other, guess how many points BC scored? 59 points. So you better believe I'm taking a look back at the week 1 stat line and saying, okay, probably a good chance a lot of people had, a good stat line, cash some props. But when I take a look at these props, take a look at these guys that go under the radar, maybe the guy that has 20.5 under his prop and not the guy that has 60.5 under his prop as far as receiving, I'll take a look at a guy like that, So it's really interesting, especially with a smaller league, not as many teams to go up against. You can look at kind of, okay, how did things go the last time they played an East opponent after they were on, at home for a while or different things like that. And with these home and homes, you can have good luck with it. So I like doing those quite a bit and taking a look as far as the prop market goes. And hey, this is pretty simple. We look at this, and Andy, I know you like these props too. The first time I ever started working with you, you were talking about these props all the time. Interception props. If you guys can grab these right now in the CFL at pretty solid prices, which is just out of this world shocking. I was saying to you guys before the show, I mean, if you want to hit an over in this league, you can't have quarterbacks throwing interceptions and you can't have fumbles happening. That's what happened to me in the first half yesterday with Zach Collaros throwing a hat trick ended up in the game of interceptions. So again, just kind of reshaping, looking around at different options, how I can attack the CFL prop market. And right now, the newest addition to my bag, betting interceptions, thinking at least one quarterback or both will turn that ball over. But it's going well, Andy. CFL season, at one point I was on a 12-5 run that I almost, moved to 500 after a little bit of a cold streak. And now we're back in action again on a pretty good run here. So off a winner last night. I have a Friday night football game up tonight at WagerTalk. I'm going to record a free play video for tomorrow. And I also have a 5% play up for tomorrow as well.
Good. The interception prop, the the Nick Foles special.
Yes.
Going back to you're one of our show.
Every week you would say it, and every week you would say it, Andy, and it would actually still be good odds. You would be like, "How is this still available at this number?" You kept on saying that. I never forget that.
So, I'm sorry. I digressed.
Look at Matt's face.
Hey, listen, he's a cult now, so he's your problem.
No. I've always been a fan of Nick. I'm glad to have him part of the team. Trying to save it here. Good stuff. The CFL, Andrew. Andrew, chime in. I'm going to go over a couple of UFC things. There's a prop strategy that I've kind of been dabbling in this year. You can't really use it in every fight card, but on the domestic books, especially DraftKings, they have these props. Now they're really juiced on fights to start round 2, and you can use them as really big parlay pieces. So, like for example, this fight card. I mean, there's a lot of fights I think are going to go the distance. So you look at Buena Silva versus Stephanie Egger. That's going to be a really good women's fight, but neither of them are probably going to finish. So to start round 2 is minus 650. Are you going to bet that on its own? Of course not. So you have many options that you can do with this prop. If you have another play that you really like, you can throw this one in to make a parlay, or you can start building on its own. There's another women's fight, Corey McKenna versus Miranda Granger. That one is definitely going the distance, and to start round 2 is minus 1,100. And there's another female fight, Ariana Lipsky and Priscilla Couture. That's minus 650 to start round 2 as well. But if I put these 3 fights together, I think it's pretty easily going to hit. And then I really like, Andrew, the Brian Battle Takashi Sato fight. I really like Brian Battle in that fight. I'm actually going to give a play on WagerTalk today about that one. I love that one to start round 2. Brian Battle is a grinder. He's a wrestler. Sato is not very good. He's on the downside of his career, but he is very tough. He's not knocking anybody out. Brian Battle isn't knocking anybody out. So if I put these 4 fights together to start round 2, you get minus 130. And, if you're uncomfortable with making 4-team parlays, you can just take a couple of these aside and maybe add it with someone like Terrence McKinney, who should easily win his fight. But these props have been really valuable parlay pieces just to bring down the price on some things, Andrew. So, if you're looking at some of these UFC lines, like we said, Terrence McKinney's minus 850. Well, what do you do with that? Well, if you want to throw a couple of these fights to start round 2, it's a great way to bring down the price. So those are props that I've dabbled in. They're not huge, but they're really, really good to add into your parlays. So I don't know if you have anything to add about UFC this weekend, Andrew.
Well, it's funny, Andy, because I know you've been cashing in with some of these 2 or 3 teamers, and whether it's just money line sides, totals for a round to start. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, a UFC podcast, and they were talking about the kind of the Sugar Sean mentality, right? How people kind of just said he was fighting tomato cans for several years, and talking about Paddy the Baddy and how the UFC is going to definitely build him up, and it'll be a while until he's not a favorite in a fight, So the reason why I'm saying this is because there's a method behind the madness, and you look at some of these fights that are like a minus 280 or minus 300, and you realize that number one, it's a pure mismatch on the early card. Number two, the UFC is setting this person up to build up their name and build the rankings a little bit. Or number three, it was a last second replacement. So when you look at these big prices, a lot of times, for me on Puck Time with Carmine Bianco, him and I, we share similar feelings towards NHL moneyline sides. I think the highest I'll go is sometimes 160. It depends on the matchup, but then I'll turn to the puck line or a -1 and stuff like that. But with UFC, there's nothing wrong with either laying that if you're comfortable consistently doing that, or just finding a dance partner for the parlay. So because in the UFC, there's opportunities to do that, and you even saw it with kind of what was the square parlay a few weeks ago with Molly McCann and Patty Pimblett. I mean, I cashed on it. A lot of people did. And do you think those two were going to get set up to lose, in those matchups? I mean, I don't think they were going to get. I mean, yeah, exactly. So, and I want to get your thoughts on one here, Andy. I'll throw one at you before we get into some NFL prop stuff, which I'm looking forward to that segment. But everyone's excited about the Jamal Hill fight this weekend, right? That's obviously the talk of the town. That's going to be super exciting. His opponent, however, has been finished just once via TKO or KO the last 15 fights, Andy. I think this one starts slow. I like the over 1.5 rounds in this one. And I'll tell you, it's going to be sweaty. It's not going to be fun to watch when I'm looking at this over. But what are your thoughts on that one?
I think Thiago Santos is one of the most boring fighters the UFC has ever created recently. I cannot believe he's getting another main event. How many times does this guy have to lose to get into a main event? It's seriously insulting it's insulting to the other fighters in that weight division. It's insulting to the consumers that we have to sit through another Thiago Santos fight. I think it's going to be hard for Jamal Hill to get close because Santos is so big and lumbering that I don't think Jamal Hill is going to be able to land the big shot on him. But I can't stand it. The guy's won a fight in the last 4 years or something. I mean, he landed 60 significant strikes in 5 rounds. Last one in a main event. It's probably going to go over 1.5 rounds. I think you're absolutely safe with that. I don't think there's any way Jamal Hill is going to get close enough within those first few rounds because Santos can push the distance away. So I'm so disappointed I have to sit through another Thiago Santos fight, especially in main event. I think you're safe with that one. I think that possibly goes the distance just because that's what Santos does. He runs and he throws one punch.
So clearly you're not a fan of him.
No,
clearly you're not a fan.
No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. He's in the main event again. So bad. So, all right, guys, let's do some NFL props. Each of us have picked an NFL prop that the others do not know about. We're going to throw them out at each other, see what the others think, and then at the end, Andrew has got his prop bet of the week. So, Matt Josephs, coming to you first. This was kind of your idea. What prop do you have for myself and Andrew to discuss?
Well, so clearly this guy thinks he's playing with the greatest quarterback in the NFL. So I want you guys to talk about Tyreek Hill over under 8.5 receiving touchdowns this season. Andy, is it easy on the under, or can you make a case potentially that playing with the greatest quarterback in the NFL, he could see a renaissance and get 9 or 10 touchdowns?
The greatest quarterback.
I like how you built that up, Matt. I like how you built that up. I like that.
Okay. So can he get over? Here's the thing with overs. You have to hope that he's healthy for basically the whole season. He's been durable. So injuries are not. You don't really have a good track record of him being hurt all the time. So I think that should be good. And there's a lot of unknowns. I do think he can get over this. I do think Tua kind of got a bad rap the last couple years about, not having a big arm. Of course, it's not the biggest arm in the NFL. But then again, who was his deep threat? Like, who was really stretching the field? And when you look at a lot of the routes that Tyreek Hill ran in Kansas City, I think most people have in their head, he's the one that always went deep and caught like 50-yard bombs. A lot of those were 15, 20 yards, kind of out routes across the middle where he broke a lot of them. He still has his speed. So I think you're going to get at least 2, maybe 3 touchdowns where he just catches a shorter one and goes all the way to the house. I love the combination of him and Jalen Waddle. I think that's a really good combination because they do completely different things and they complement each other well. Little worried that the running game is not going to be a threat, so they can double up on Tyreek Hill. I always am going to lean slightly towards unders on some of these season longs because if Tyreek Hill does, have a sprained ankle and he's out like 4 to 6 weeks, the under easily hits. Pulls a hamstring or a calf or anything like that. You just have a lot that needs to go right. If he stays healthy, I think he can get to 9. But in the end, I just think it might be a little bit too much. You need to have everything go right for him. So I'm going to lean the under 8.5 touchdowns for Tyreek Hill. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, they didn't get him for him to just sit around. I think he's going to get lots of touches. I think he's going to make explosive plays, and I think he'll find the end zone. Look, the reason why I said I love the way that Matt kind of led into that was because players can definitely, they're going to, when you get to a new team, you're going to hype up the quarterback you're with. You're going to hype up your defense. You're going to hype up whatever. And let's be honest, Tua isn't the most accurate quarterback to ever play the game of football, but he also isn't, someone that's going to just be overthrowing or underthrowing him all game long. He's a guy that now has a really dangerous weapon and a guy that, like Andy just mentioned, can turn a 15-yard catch into, a 50-yard house call. So, what was the number again, Matt? You said
8.5.
8.5.
8.5. I think he can get there because you know what? I think there's going to be 1, potentially 2, maybe multi-touchdown gains from him. So I like it. I do think there's, obviously it could be a spread out offense for that team, but let's be honest. They spent a lot to get him. This is the guy that they wanted. I don't think he's going to be out there just to be a decoy. He's going to get the ball quite a bit. I got to ask you, Matt, what do you think about the prop you're asking us about? I mean, even though obviously he's acting like Tua is a Hall of Famer already, I feel like the amount of touches he's going to get or the amount of targets he's going to get, he should be able to get there.
I lean to the under. I mean, much like Andy, when you look at some of these season-long things, I lean more towards the under. And mostly also because look at the other weapons they have. Jalen Waddle is there, and he's going to get a lot. The tight end position has some talent. And, they have got some decent other wide receivers there. So I feel like teams are going to load up on Tyreek Hill. They're going to do the same thing they kind of tried to do in Kansas City. And I lean to the under here. It's not a slam dunk by any thought, but I just feel like 8.5 is a lot. That's 9 touchdowns from Tua. And if Tua gets hurt, their backup situation isn't great either. So yeah, I'm like Andy. I lean to the under here.
All right, Andrew, let's hear it. What's your prop for myself and Matt to discuss?
Well, Matt's nickname is Mid-Major Matt. I feel like I've had success in the NFL with betting on props on the lower tier teams, not just those top of the tier teams. So I've decided to look at a prop here with a player that will throw the most interceptions this coming season. And I'm looking at a guy named Davis Mills from the Houston Texans. Okay. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Number one, a guy that's going to be down in every single game and throwing the ball quite a bit, a guy that doesn't really have a great friendly schedule. And from what I'm hearing, what I've read, I should say, based on the schedule and based on what the coaches are saying, if he struggles, there is not a short leash that he is going to get yanked and just get out of the game. They want this guy to develop. They want him to grow with the team. They want him to go through adversity. Davis Mills to throw the most interceptions. And the funny thing is, I actually was cashing quite a bit on his completion prop. As you guys know, I like that one quite a bit near the end of last year. But hey, the team is his, start of the year. Let's see what he can do. I feel like we're going to see a lot of interceptions from this guy, especially late in games. What are your thoughts? Davis Mills lead the league in interceptions this year.
Matt, what do you think?
So I'm looking at last year, and I don't know if it's cheating or not that I'm looking up at his statistics, but last year he only had 10. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, he pretty much played most of the season with the same bad team that he has now. Although, by the way, as an aside, reading a lot of good things about Brandon Cooks, like he's uncoverable. Now, I don't know if that means that the Texans defense is that bad, but Brandon Cooks is having a killer camp so far. So put that on your radar. I'm going to say as long as Jameis Winston and Carson Wentz and Kirk Cousins are still on this earth, that they will have a better chance to lead the league in interceptions. Matt Ryan could be up there too, so I think they might want to turn to Nick Foles to save their season. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't think he's going to lead. I'm just saying, I'll actually say that I believe that, as much as I love Kirk Cousins, I think he could be up there. I think Carson Wentz could be up there. And Jameis, of course, is going to be up there too, I think. So, no, I do not think he's going to lead the league in interceptions.
Okay.
I like where your head's at, Andrew, because right now Marlon Mack is their number one running back.
Yeah.
I mean, Rex Burkhead is one injury away from being the lead running back for the Houston Texans, so they have no running game. He's going to be asked to do a lot. My concern with this one is, well, first off, he gets Jacksonville twice. They're obviously rebuilding. The Colts, their defense is much better, but their secondary is the weak spot on the entire team. When I follow the Colts, they're not going to be a big interception team. So you got two games against a couple teams. They're Tennessee. I really don't know much about their secondary. And then, they also get the Giants. They're playing Washington. Miami has some pretty good secondary guys. I'm gonna lean no. But I like where your head's at with that because he is going to be in shootouts. And I think Houston is really going to let him do a ton because this is the year to see if they've got something with him. They're going to let him, do whatever. They obviously aren't going to make the playoffs or anything like that, but this could be the year for them to say, hey, are we getting rid of Davis Mills or are we going to roll with him for another 4 to 5 years? I kind of like him. I actually liked what I saw from him at times. Showed some flashes. I'm gonna lean slightly no with Davis Mills though. So
but that's what's funny, Andy. We could cash his completion prop, and he could still throw a pick or two in that same game. Because, like Absolutely. You just said, this is the showcase year. Show us what you can do. I'm scrolling around last night, and everything I read from the team just says, this is his time. He could start the first half with 2 interceptions, and it sounds like he's going to walk out there in the third quarter with confidence. Nobody's coming in place of him right now. So I want a guy that's going to be out there when they're down. He has to throw the ball quite a bit, not much of a run game. And the fact of the matter is, I'm not worried about him getting yanked.
Yeah. Matt, I love that you brought up Brandon Cooks. A couple weeks ago, I gave out Brandon Cooks over his receiving total for the season and how good of a fantasy player he's going to be this year. And then, I read maybe the same report you did about just how good he looks. Brandon Cooks. Matt, you already mentioned my guy who I was going to bring up. I think this one could be a fun one. I'd like you guys to tell me if you like Jameis Winston over 3,750 passing yards. Looks like Michael Thomas may be back, at least for now. Looks like based on film, it looked like Thomas looked pretty good. Who knows if he can stay healthy? We got New regime. So are we going to get the Jameis Winston that threw for 5,000 yards in his last full season, or do we get a short lease on Jameis? So Matt, coming to you, what do you think? Jameis Winston over his passing total?
So, obviously if Sean Payton was there, I would have definitely taken that over, because I feel like in the NFL nowadays, you roll out of bed and throw for 4,000 yards, and Sean Payton would have kept doing it. I think the other thing to kind of watch, and I'm guessing since we're so close to the season, nothing's going to change, but the Alvin Kamara status. I mean, there were people talking about he could miss 6 games this year because he got arrested. What was it, NBA All-Star Weekend or whatever? Or no, it was a Pro Bowl weekend in Las Vegas, whatever it was. So I guess that's something that's not going to happen before the season. Maybe that comes next year. The talk is that their wide receiving core with Olave and with Michael Thomas, and I forget who the third guy is that's pretty good, that they're going to throw the ball a lot. And obviously the hope is, and we've talked about him a lot with regards to his prop receiving, Alvin Kamara, who dropped off the face of the earth last year when it came to receiving. So I lean to the over there. I'd like to do a little bit more with regards to finding out about the offensive coordinator and kind of reading the headlines as to how much they're throwing it, how he looks. But as long as he stays healthy, and presumably he will, I'm going to guess that he's going to go over that. Because as I said, in the NFL nowadays, if you're not throwing for 4,000 yards, you're just not very good. So with that wide receiving core and with the potential that Alvin Kamara may not be there for the whole season, I would lean to that over. I just think they're going to use him a lot this coming season.
Yeah, Jarvis Landry is the other wide receiver there.
That's right.
So yeah, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Olave. That's a pretty good wide receiving core. Andrew, what do you think about Jameis?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, this is one of those ones where it's like I'm betting the number, not the name. You're betting the good number, not as much the name of the guy throwing the ball. And I agree with a lot of stuff Matt just said there. There's too many weapons. This is a team that I think is going to be a pass heavy team, and that number is quite low, really, for a quarterback. So when I take a look at them and the way that kind of they don't always find themselves in situations where they're comfortable with the lead. They have to continue to throw the ball. They're not going to be a team that's going to be up 20 points, running the ball to the ground and not throwing the ball anymore. So there's going to be a lot of situations where late in games, he's airing the ball out or trying to go for deep balls, which, are good for stat padding. So when I look at this receiving core and a lot of the options he has, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Lots of good options and lots of guys that can not just, catch the ball for him, but stretch the field. So I'm not going to lie, Andy. I'm not sure I'm getting to the window with this one, but I think I would have a slight lean to the over here.
I do too as well. I like how positive he always is, and even if they're down, make no mistake, he's going to come out slinging it. That's a legit wide receiving core. If Michael Thomas is healthy, you got Jarvis Landry, you got Olave. Yeah, those are really good. So. All right, guys, we're going to get to our best bet of the week. Andrew, it is your time. Just want to remind everybody that Andrew has 5% MLB play today, also 5% CFL coming up this weekend. It's on a 41-18 run on 5% plays, which is just incredible. Grab that at WagerTalk.com. Matt Joseph's getting us ready for college football. He's got a promo code CFB200. That's CFB200. Get you $200 off college football season. That's only $3.99 for the early bird special. He's fantastic, does more research than just about anybody, and the results show for it. I had a fantastic season last year, looking to do the same. Myself, I've got a promo code WIN150, WIN150, $150 off a 30-day pass. I've got a 5% NFL play for week 1, got a 5% UFC play that is up, all 5% plays, and all sports are included in that. Andrew, take us home. What do you got for the Prop It Up Bet of the Week for us?
Well, look, Andy, I mean, I can't be going on every network I'm on or every show I do and crap all over the Atlanta Falcons without actually, submitting an official pick, fading them right now, because you got to back it up. You got to, if you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk, put your money where your mouth is. Atlanta Falcons under 4.5 wins here at a plus 100 price. This is a team I'm looking forward to fading from the points spread perspective, but why not just do it preseason as well and expect them to have an abysmal start here? Depending on where you look, what you're reading, a lot of people have them ranked as the 7th, 8th, 9th worst schedule in the NFL. Their opponent's record from last year sitting at 151 and 137 here. a team that pretty much doesn't have a number 1 or number 2 wide receiver, probably not really a good thing. And they're opening up their season against teams like the Saints, Rams, Browns, Bucks, Niners, Bengals. I mean, and also 4 of the first 7 contests open up on the road. I am not feeling good about this Falcons team. I'm not feeling good about Mariota throwing the ball around, and he doesn't really have too many options out there either. And their defense, well, I think Matt, Andy, and I could probably score on them. So I'm going to go under the Falcons on their win total. We're getting a plus 100. There are some 5s out there. I'll take the plus 100 on the under 4.5 here. Fade the Falcons.
That wide receiving core is so bad on paper. It really, the saying like 2 wrongs, don't make a right. It's like, 4 number 5 receivers don't make a number 1. I mean, it's really bad when you just look at that. So, I'm with you, Andrew. Let's go ahead and lock that in. The Atlanta Falcons to not be very good this year, under 4.5 wins. Great stuff, everyone. Andrew McInnis, find him at WagerTalk.com. Matt Josephs, find him at SportsMemo.com. I'm Andy Lang. I am at WagerTalk.com. Let's have a great weekend, everybody, and we will see everyone next week on another edition of Prop It Up.
Ready to take your favorite WagerTalk handicappers wherever you travel this football season? The WagerTalk TV app is now live for phones, tablets, smart TVs, and streaming platforms. Tune into your favorite shows like WagerTalk Today, Bet On It, and the Opening Line Report. Plus, browse through our extensive library of sports betting tips. Create your personal playlist of betting tip videos to help you prepare for the upcoming season, and set notifications to alert you when new content is added. Download the app for Apple, Android, Amazon, and Roku devices by searching for WagerTalk TV, or scan the QR code on your screen to join the winning conversation today.